We're back. We are back. That is right. Promise Mango. Pop-up podcast at 301 North Main Street. Where am I?
301 North Main Street.
Yeah, but what's the...
Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
There you go. At the lovely EBS Suites in the Winston Tower. 24th floor vibes. Hey. This next guest does some big things. He understood podcasts before other people understood podcasts, and I'm guessing people looked at you kind of sort of crazy.
Oh, they did. It was people at the time. I started podcasting in 2007. I didn't get into it seriously until around 2010, but people at that time, no less than 5 times a week were asking, "What's a podcast?
Yeah.
What's a podcast? What's a podcast?" Now I only have to go about once a week to explain what a podcast is.
That's about right. About right. Go ahead and introduce yourself first, brother.
My name is Tim Beeman. I am host of the Less Desirables podcast, North Carolina's oldest continuously running pop culture podcast. Coming up in February on the 3rd will be 9 years since we started. And it was the 9th anniversary of that. Mm-hmm. Since starting the Less Desirables, which is show number 450 coming up, may even be more than that.
So you totally killing me on my little 31.
But I also have the Less Desirables network.
Gotcha.
So we have 5 podcasts, including the Less Desirables on that.
Cool.
We also have the Beer Dads.
Oh, really?
Which is 3 dads sitting around talking about being a dad, and we drink a beer.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then we have Fan Interference, which is a sports podcast that we record weekly. There's The Man Who Ate the Town, which I am the man who ate the town. So if you are on Instagram or wherever and find The Man Who Ate the Town food pictures, then that's me. I've been doing that since around 2007, 2008. And then there's Apartment 5B, which is the irrational conversations with the cool breezes of any town, USA. So that's another pop culture podcast, but it's a little more off the chain and really focused on current events and things like that. So
cool. So you made a whole network out of this.
I did.
A whole what do I want to say? What is it? Pod One? Would that be kind of like a network?
Yeah, the Pod One network, and let's see, Adam, what's his name? He was on the Man Show. Adam Carolla.
Adam Carolla.
He has his own network of stuff, and then there's, Pod One does that, and there's a couple of others, but mine's small compared to those.
Gotcha.
And a lot of the stuff is Winston-Salem focused. Like Less Desirables wasn't meant to be, but it turned out to be a local focus. What was started off as a pop culture podcast exclusively turned into like a community bulletin board for Winston-Salem.
Cool.
So we bring in every week a new guest, or maybe a returning guest, but someone that's a mover and shaker, or business owner, restaurateur, chef, wineries, whatever, people who are doing something in the community. And it doesn't have to be just Winston-Salem. It can be the area. Yeah. But as long as they can get to me, then I can put them on. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. So starting off, like you said, 2007, no one really knew what a podcast was, stuff like that. And now you're only having to say that once or twice a week.
Yeah.
Trust me, I understand that, because when I started podcasting, and I was producer first. I was producer of a podcast about a year and a half ago. nobody knew what a podcast was unless you listen to
Serial.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, like in the community where I'm at, the hip hop community.
Yeah.
If you're listening to not Drunken Bastards, what are they called? With Noriega. Drink Champs.
Okay.
If you listen to Drink Champs, if you're listening to the Breakfast Club podcast, stuff like that, then that's all they knew about that. So it was a learning curve for a lot of my audience members. Into it was like, oh, you get up here and you just talk and you be, cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
They understood it, then. So, it's a slow.
For me, the turning point was about the time Serial came out.
Gotcha.
Because when Serial showed up, people wanted to do that. And I'm like, you've been doing this for a while. And no, what do you mean? I said, do you listen to This American Life? Do you listen to Wait, Don't Tell Me? Do you listen to Car Talk on NPR? All those are podcasts that are syndicated. That's the only thing a podcast is a syndicated radio show.
That's it.
This is radio on demand. It's what a podcast is.
Exactly. And but I guess it's been more accessible in the later years now, like, or coming up or whatever. People can, like, prices have gone down on, like, this equipment's 5 years old right here.
Yep.
So something that cost, back in the day, maybe $400 or $500, you can get this for $100 now. These mics, I got 3 of them for $100.
Well, when I return this favor and you come on my podcast,
gotcha,
and my $15,000 to $20,000 worth of equipment, we'll talk about well, you can get this for no,
right.
I can't. But I'm producing on a bigger scale,
you are.
and I produce also for other people. So it's not just my podcast. I actually, people will produce something or record something and send it to me, and I do what I call massaging it.
Gotcha.
I do all the EQing of it and all that, and I bring up what I need to, and I also go in and spend a lot of time taking out and
Good.
long pauses. I make pregnant pauses less overdue.
Hey, one thing that I do know, if you say ums, uhs, or anything like that, it literally kills a show because it's a lot of unnecessary time. What was the longest time? Like, if you took out, like, in a show, what was the longest time of ums and ums did you take out?
Well, I went in and, like I said, I make the pregnant pauses less overdue. So if you have a point and you're talking like this, I go in and make it, if you have a point and you're talking like this.
Gotcha.
So in one of these podcasts, I took off maybe 7 minutes worth of ums, stutters, and pregnant pauses.
7 whole
7 whole minutes. Yeah. And also, I do voiceover work, so I go in and I have to do the there's I have to do the intros a lot of times. Well, I say have to. It's part of my deal. But,
gotcha.
I like to hear myself talk. So it's
okay. You have a really good radio voice.
Thank you.
So, I mean, like I said, I definitely understand that. When you started this, as far as the network, though, and you can answer this if you want, how did you figure out how to charge folk, how to monetize this, and make this something to where it's sustainable on its own?
Well, when I figure that out, I will let you know. Most of my revenue comes from producing for other people.
Gotcha.
However, I do have sponsors for the Less Desirables, for the Man Who Ate the Town,
Good.
And for the Apartment 5B.
Gotcha.
The Apartment 5B, in all full disclosure, is one that I produce, but it's interesting content enough for me that I wanted to put it on the network.
Gotcha.
So they get promotion from that.
Gotcha.
But they found their own sponsors. Now, what I did is I go out and find people who believe in what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I have a reputation in town.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that doesn't come off as bragging, because it's certainly not supposed to.
No.
It's just I have made a name for myself,
Mm-hmm.
and as a mover and shaker in this town. So I like to think when I speak, people are at least half paying attention.
I understand.
So when I go to places and they understand that the Less Desirables has been around now for almost 9 years, they know that name, they know that people listen to it, they see other places around town that are sponsors, and they're like, how can I be a sponsor?
Cool.
When I have people asking me that, that's a good thing.
Gotcha.
But I had to go out and solicit. But I started with my friends.
Gotcha.
I started with people that I knew. And a good bit of my initial sponsorships were barter.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, hey, I will give you free advertising if you will supply me with X.
Beer
Was actually the very first sponsor we had was City Beverage.
That's what I'm talking about.
And they would give us beer, and we would.
That is crazy.
They were our official beer sponsor.
Hey, there you go.
They are no longer my sponsor, but that's just I worked other deals out and stuff. It's just It was an amicable. I had someone that was willing to pay me as well as give me beer, so I went on with that. And I would like to thank Bull's Tavern for their sponsorship.
That is what I'm talking about. Bull's Tavern
and Underdog Records.
Y'all
and
rock.
Machine Gun Graphics. X1 Communications.
Shout out to Machine Gun Graphics. They do some awesome work. I'm a graphics designer too, so I'm really into a lot of people who do screen printing and stuff around the city. And Machine Gun Graphics actually has some really, really, really good stuff coming out. So shout out to them, definitely.
And I also want to say thanks to Willow's Bistro, to Finnegan's Wake, King's Crab Shack, SOS Investors. If I'm going to mention one, I got to mention them all.
Mention them all.
And Washington Perkin Provision Company.
That is what I'm talking about. So you really out there grinding it out and knocking out and really showing people how this I guess helps the community.
Yes.
So.
If you're going, the way I always look at it, if you're going to do something, use it to benefit more than just yourself.
Definitely.
Yes, I make money doing this. Yes, I have been doing it a long time. Yes, I enjoy what I'm doing. But at the same time, I like to think that I'm bringing awareness to the people in this town that do things that maybe you didn't know they did.
Definitely.
I've had Sandy Meeks, whose office we're basically sitting in right now.
We are sitting in EBS Suites on the 24th floor in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, at 301 North Main Street. Sandy Meeks. That's it.
So I just like to bring a voice to the people who are either starting their business or have had trouble getting traction for their business.
Gotcha.
I want to help however I can. It may be that I can't, but the best I can do is bring them on and have them talk about what they do. And we never do interviews. I don't do interviews on the Less Desirables. Gotcha. It's always like we're doing. We're not interviewing. We're having a conversation.
That's what I'm talking
conversation
about.
Among friends is what we do.
That's what I'm talking about. So with all that being said, what's the next step? What's the next goal? What's the next? Because you're coming up with 9 years. You done got people familiar with podcasting in the Winston-Salem area. You understand it very much. What's the next goal? Like
internet radio.
So going back to internet. So
back to internet radio. So.
Gotcha.
Radio stations, I believe, terrestrial radio stations have really alienated people.
Yeah.
The things you want to listen to, because the FCC has so much control over them, you can't listen. If you listen to 102 Jams, I don't understand why you would, but if you do, the only thing you hear is because everything's edited, because the FCC controls too much. And then you have Clear Channel, who's bought up all the other stuff, and they've killed it.
I think the blame also goes on program directors as well. Not saying that program directors are bad.
No.
Not saying that. But I remember back in Florida. Well, first off, where I'm from in Florida, we don't have a radio station. We had one in Mobile, which is in Alabama. So it's about a 2-hour radius of where they hit. So we personally didn't have one. The next city that had a radio station was Panama City Beach. So in Pensacola, where I was listening to BLX, the radio station there, the program director had a variety, and I mean a variety of hip-hop music. There was not just, okay, this is popping on, whatever, so we're just going to play these songs, whatever the case is. Because, once again, you have different demographics.
Sure.
So if I want to hear some, not old school stuff, but some more substance type based hip-hop or whatever, the program director should be like, hey, at least every 10 minutes or every hour for about 10 minutes or whatever, we need to have something like this here or whatever. I think they've gone away from that.
Well, it's all about advertising.
It is.
And how many advertisements they can put into an hour.
Yeah.
And I feel like there needs to be advertisers because that's how the radio stations will make their money. Mm-hmm. But I believe it needs to be more listener driven than revenue driven. Of course they need to make money. Of course I need to make money. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to do something, you need to work out a balance where that works both ways. I'm old enough to remember in the 70s and early 80s and I'm originally from West Virginia, of all places.
Oh, man.
We had radio, but we didn't have segmented radio like we have now, and we didn't have anything like 102 Jams. And again, I didn't mean to disparage 102 Jams. No. You do a fine job. It's just listening to today's music on terrestrial radio is hard because the FCC controls so much. So 102 Jams, you're still cool. But if you didn't have that, you didn't have the 107.5, you didn't have the country stations. Yeah. You had a radio station that played everything.
Gotcha.
And I'm not talking about 98.7 that say they play everything and there are 120 songs on their rotation. There are literally 15,000 songs from the time that 1957, whenever they started calculating Billboard Top 40, until now. There's even more than that, but let's say 15,000. Why aren't those songs in a rotation? Even the one-hit wonders that made a top 40 hit, why aren't those played? And why do we have to only have black stations, white stations, country stations, classical stations? I mean, if it was a hit, let's have Prince come in and doing 1999, followed by Garth Brooks, followed by Metallica or whoever, because they hit the top 40. The radio should be communal, not exclusive. It should be inclusive. So,
with what going back to what you're saying about the internet radio, do you think that it's a part like with so much technology now? I'm talking about from Pandora, stuff like that, to like me, I just pop on YouTube, got my little playlist on, gone. What's the next level of the internet radio? Is it more of the human element of you're curating the music and people are really just tuning into that? And then secondly, how is that sustainable monetarily wise? Is it no sponsors and they're going to pay a little fee? Is it, how or do you?
No. I want the access to be free. Gotcha. I'm still working a lot of this stuff out in my head with partners and things like that. But the curation part, I think, is very interesting because I get tired of just throwing my iPod on, and that's, and I know I'm dating myself with an iPod, but say even with Spotify, my Spotify list and all this stuff. But I don't necessarily want to go out and listen to all the new stuff because I might not like the new stuff. Gotcha. This is me personally. If I'm the listener, then I like the fact because I have satellite radio. Yeah, but that costs a lot of money.
It does.
I like the idea of I put it on and I get to listen to whatever I want to. I have a wider base that I can listen to through whatever channel it is. However, I would love to have a channel access to that fully does the 70s, 80s model FM where they play everything.
Cool.
And I also want to populate it with variety things. It could be a podcast. It could be my podcast.
Yeah.
It could be other thing. I remember there were like radio skits that were done.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And they don't do that anymore because it's all about cranking out commercials.
Yeah,
you are actually populating commercials with music these days.
Oh, you are.
And I don't see why we have to do it that way anymore.
It's
streaming radios in cars. One in every 7 cars right now offer streaming radios when you buy them brand new.
Yeah.
By the time 2025 comes around, 80% of cars will have streaming radios available. And with the invention of unlimited data plans, you can basically take your antenna on your phone and ride around anywhere and stream off of that. So it doesn't matter if you need an internet connection or not. As long as you're connected to the internet through your phone, you can, if you're 4G, and if it's unlimited, you don't have to worry about data. Yeah. And you can listen to it anywhere. So what I hope to do is take and curate, I like that word, curate, not a playlist per se, but a collection of music.
Gotcha.
That even if it's not top 40, it doesn't have to necessarily, it can be some outlier stuff.
Gotcha.
It doesn't even, the top 40 thing's just an example. But there's internet radio's been around for a while.
Yes.
So now we have more, when I say intelligent, I mean just, knowing where to find stuff. Again, they know how to find podcasts. They can find internet radio stations.
Gotcha.
So I think that taking it to that next level is the next step. I mean, because podcasts can only do so much more. I mean, you're doing a video part. I don't even do the video part. But okay, so who's gonna watch this while they're driving?
Nobody. And that's one of the things that I think I get a little ding for, because people say, "Hey, why do you have the video?" And
I'm fine with the video.
But I mean, some people say that, and it's like I get it, because there are a lot of times I'm on YouTube or whatever, driving in the car or whatever. I'll hit the video, as far as like even on a music video. I'll hit the music video because I like the little, whatever they put in the video, whatever. But I'm still just going to listen to it. I've seen it on my phone or my smart TV a million times or whatever. But I just like to listen to it or whatever.
Right.
So, but it gives you the option of just listening to the audio, or when I get home, I want to see a good video. Boom, I can just hit it real quick. So that was the whole deal.
So I understand that, but why take up everybody else's bandwidth with you being greedy? Not this. I'm talking about watching YouTube in your car, or when you're in the shower, or if you're cooking. That's the 3 examples I use when people ask me why podcasting, why audio. Well, because you're not watching video while you're driving. Definitely. You're not watching video while you're cooking. Usually, you're not watching video when you're in the shower.
Nope.
So, audio is flexible.
It is.
I like the aspect of video.
Definitely.
I'm talking about for the listener, though. What is the advantage of them having the audio versus video?
Never thought about that. I mean, you stumped me. Like, and that's what happens on a public podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, my whole thing was, and once again, I know that we're coming from 2 different backgrounds. Being on, looking at Drink Champs, which is a podcast, it is, and it's actually who was it? Revolt TV, PD and stuff bought I won't say rights to it, but they're like, your podcast is doing really well. We're going to videotape it, and they want to put it on the TV. Mm-hmm. You can still listen to it, on the various, wherever station, wherever it was. But you also know within 30 minutes to an hour, the video is going to be up on YouTube if you want to watch, and see the guests interact and stuff like that. So that's,
sure. I mean,
that's
again,
the only.
I'm all for the video. I'm just saying that with the radio aspect of it, of what a podcast is to me.
Yeah.
The video is luxury.
It is.
Where the audio is meat.
It is.
Yeah. Let's think. Audio is like
That's
that big New York strip.
Yeah.
Where video is the filet mignon.
Gotcha.
And it's going to cost you more. Maybe not money.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
bandwidth, other things like that.
Gotcha. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Like, hey,
But I like filet mignon too. So
there you go.
I'm cool with the video.
So tough discussion. Not even tough discussion. Just a really good insight on the technical stuff. Now I know some of my audience members may not even understand what we're talking about, but hey,
I don't either.
Hey, hey, we don't fake it till we make it, but we actually learn from each other, and that's a good thing.
I make it just to fake it.
Hey.
Truthfully,
that's a good one.
that's how I do it.
But, back to the curation real quick, though.
Okay.
The only reason I said that is because you have Underdog Records.
Underdog Records, yes.
And every time I go there, Earshot is a great one too. I love Earshot here. Shout out to Earshot. Their record, not record label, a record store.
Mm-hmm.
Ask for stuff, ask for any type of recommendations and stuff like that. You have a human, somebody who is musically inclined, who listens to a bunch of genres of music.
Yeah.
And can point you into a direction of people you may not even have heard of.
This is true.
And that is why I said the curation type deal, because the way you're explaining it kind of sort of reminds me of the record shop owner dude or whatever who's going to point you in, yo, if you like this, you might like this, this, and this. And there are 3 different genres, but they have a good vibe, a good mixture of type deal. So,
sure. Yeah. Jonathan over at Underdog can point you in any direction. And if he doesn't have it, he can probably find it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now he does deal 98% in vinyl. So if you're not into vinyl, then it's not going to do you any good. But if you are into vinyl,
yeah,
he's certainly the one to talk to, and he will point you in the right direction. He's one of my bestest buddies, and he really knows what he's doing.
Excellent. That's what I'm talking about. So, nope, wait a second. Forgot to get into the Spitfire round. We got so technical and stuff. We've been doing all this quote-unquote nerd talk. Sorry about that, y'all. Spitfire round brought to you by the Blacklist Party. Blacklist Party happening February 16th down in Charlotte, North Carolina, doing All-Star Weekend. 7 artists and open bar. I'm putting it on.
Open bar.
Open bar, yeah. Open bar to 12. I worked that deal out. Mm-hmm. So if you want to go down there and look at some basketball and go down there and have some free drinks until 12, guess what? I got you. But the Spitfire round. So 5, 4, 3 questions. Don't know what it is yet. Of just anything that comes off the top of my head.
Okay.
What's the best thing about Winston-Salem?
Food.
What's the favorite place?
Willows.
What they have there? Like I've been there before. Now trust me, like they are really good.
Willows is fine dining in a casual atmosphere.
It is.
The food is just like fine dining, and they boast the current North Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association Chef of the Year, Chef
Really?
Travis Myers.
That's what I'm talking about. What was the last thing you had there? Because I went to was it King Crab the other night?
Yep.
Crazy food, and I know they're owned by the same.
Oh
people.
yeah, they're sister restaurants.
Yeah, so
also both of them are sponsors of the Less Desirables.
That is what
and I'm not saying that they're my favorite because of that. I'm saying they're my favorite because they are.
No, they phenomenal food.
Yep,
phenomenal.
Yep, Chef Travis is fantastic. And if you're at Willows, make sure you try the Less Desirables Sangria.
Really?
And at King's Crab Shack, try the Less Desirables Oyster Shot.
So I need to go back and get some oyster shots. I haven't had oyster shots since I've been in Florida. at the Sandpiper.
Well, here's the thing about King's Crab Shack. You're 4 hours from the coast, and they've been named best seafood restaurant in the state more than once.
Really?
Really?
That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. But they were really good. Like I said, they had some really good. I think I had the blackened salmon sandwich. And my girl had the shrimp quesadilla.
Yeah.
Delicious.
The shrimp po' boy is very good over there too.
I gotta see it. I gotta see. Oh,
and they added lobster rolls, I believe.
Really?
So I think you can get them all the time now.
I gotta get there. I gotta get back there. Gotta get back there. Food's awesome. Yep. Food is awesome. But we're 30 minutes into this. Well, we have to log off because we have spent way too much time talking about stuff. But go ahead and hit everybody with your social media stuff, where they can find you at.
Okay, so everything Less Desirables based, you can go to thelessdesirables.com, at The Less Desirables on Instagram, at Less Desirables on Twitter. Yes, people still do use Twitter.
They do.
And on Facebook, just The Less Desirables. Cool. Also, The Man Who Ate the Town. Just go to the Facebook pages of all that, and you can, or themanwhoatethetown.com, the Beer Dads podcast.com, apartment5bpodcast.com, or the Fan Interference Twitter page is where most of the stuff happens there because it's real time.
Gotcha.
And if you want to just read ramblings of me, you can check out uselessthingsneedlove2.com.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So you really got a handle on the marketing and stuff. You named off 7 websites, and obviously you update them
weekly, if not daily. Yeah, Useless Things Need Love 2 is updated every day. And my wife's company, Camel City Social, she does social media management and consultation as well.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey,
I got connections.
He is connected in the city. I'm telling y'all, get to know him. Hey, Promise Mango, Papa Podcast, 24th Floor Vibes, EBS Suites. That's it. I definitely want to get on the show with the food show. I'm just gonna be real.
All right.
I really want to taste this, the foods that
I can help you with that.
Because if you got your own sangria and your own oyster shot,
yep,
I need to be hanging with you. I just got to.
Let's do it.
Let's get it.
Let's do it.
Promise Mangum, we out. Talk to y'all later. Peace.
Bye.